here about right now. I've been getting busy. I'm outside. I've been leading an example in a great way. You heard?
Yo, Jimmy.
I break that nigga 30 minutes. They don't really know who Nas is. If he, son,
nah, but he knows.
my son can't tell you one Nas record. You heard? Like, let's keep it a buck here.
I actually reached out to Nas to actually
Whoa.
I'm doing my chicken head right now because I really want him to get on this record.
Like, if it was like Jim Jones, imagine putting a pen to paper to write about him. He was so nice. He was so nice about him. How did you do that?
Jim Jones ain't just throwing shots at Nas anymore. He's straight up talking about pulling up now. But here's the crazy part. Nas barely even acknowledges Jim's existence. And when he did, he brushed it off so hard it sent Jim spiraling all over again. This ain't your regular rap beef. It's really just Jim holding on to some old grudge that Nas left in the past ages ago. This whole drama actually kicked off over 20 years back when the Diplomats were taking shots at Nas on mixtapes in the early 2000s.
So let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries, and pull up my Billboard entries.
Back then, it was all bars and sneak disses, but Nas didn't flinch at all. He just stayed quiet and kept it moving. Now, there's this old video floating around again where Nas basically clowns Jim, saying he wasn't even worth a response. That should have been the final nail in the coffin. But nah, Jim stayed salty for all these years. At one point, he even said he would slap Nas. Lately, Jim's been going off on anybody who questions him about claiming he's better than Nas. And now that he's actually threatening to show up in person, the internet is going wild again. Fans been roasting Jim, calling him a washed-up rapper who's just chasing clout. This time, his wild threats didn't just blow over, they blew up big time and got him facing major backlash. So yeah, Jim keeps talking about pulling up, but Nas, man, he couldn't care less. When Jim Jones pulled up on the Bag Fuel podcast, he wilded out saying his comments made Nas go viral again. Something he claims ain't happened since Ether. That's a bold flex right there. Then Jim started talking reckless, saying all the rappers from his era are too shook to face him in the booth. He doubled down, yelling that he's the best from that whole generation. But it didn't stop there. Jim took it to another level. He pulled out a fat stack of cash on camera and challenged Nas, or anybody else, to settle it face to face. Man, that's some wild energy. The craziest part? No one is taking the bait. Instead, Jim's just making himself look goofy as hell with this whole circus act. If you missed how all this drama started, it popped off earlier this month on the Joe and Jada podcast. Jim was talking about how his opinion of Nas shifted after he got deeper in the rap game. When Fat Joe brought up a kid on Instagram comparing Jim to Nas, Jim clapped back hard. He told folks to check his Billboard stats if they want to know why he always backs himself over anybody else, no matter who they throw in the mix. But that whole Billboard flex, straight up cap, Billboard even pulled up the receipts. As a solo artist, Jim only got 2 Hot 100 hits, with just 1 in the top 10.
I recently saw a clip on Instagram where a young kid was comparing you to Nas and saying that you got
that's my young boy
big hits.
He's wild.
Yo, he looked to you. He learned how to wear the BB Simon belt from you. He got his swag. Like, how crazy is that? Because in my era, you know what I'm saying? Nas is like a god.
In my era too. I mean,
so
well,
to be compared,
let me
that young kid out.
He was young and we loved that he loved Jim Jones. I want you to break it down.
Let's not get into that where we get into numbers and I gotta show you the statistics of what I've done. You heard to what other people was done. You heard them. You want to go to the Billboard entries, pull up Nas Billboard entries, then pull up my Billboard entries.
Listen, we can't compare the two. What I'm trying to tell you is
I want to go there. I want to go down the line now because now we going down the line. He's a rapper and I'm a rapper.
Listen,
let's go statistically.
It feels great.
No, but I want to go statistically because when people be like,
I feel the same way. We all feel the same way.
And forget about the numbers. There's nothing that could. There's never is me. Putting me up against anybody. I'm taking me every time. Every time.
Supposed to. Okay,
Every
but
time, in all
let me say
categories.
something though, Jim.
In every category,
Jim,
I get busy.
Meanwhile, Nas got 27 Hot 100 entries, 2 top 10 hits, and on the album charts, Jim only got 3 Billboard 200 entries. Nas, he got 27 albums that charted, 16 in the top 10, and 6 that hit #1. Jim really tried it, but the numbers don't lie. This Billboard flop didn't just embarrass Jim, it totally crushed his whole argument about being the best.
Can I ask you a question, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
You smoke, right?
Yeah.
Were you smoking when you said you better than Nas?
I might have been a little bit. Well, as far as let's get this right. I'm way more influential than Nas, and I don't care what nobody say. I know I made a little boo-boo when you talk about the sales and all this type of shit. I don't feel like getting into that rhetoric about where I started and where he started.
Well, you said that.
But listen, Nas was nice when I was in high school. When I was in 10th grade, Nas came out. Nas was dope. We appreciated him. He had a little bit of run. But Nas always came up second to Jay and DMX and all these other people. Like, he
Ain't
never
no
had
shame in that. There's a lot of folks came up second to Tom Brady.
He never had that type of influence on us, except for his first album. I already told you, I used to want to dress like Nas because he had a lot of fresh clothes that the hustlers used to wear. And we used to see him on TV. He had one of the illest albums of all time. And then in high school when he had the barbecue and shit like that. So I'm a real fan of Nas, but he kind of lost me after the movie Belly and like that. Like, I don't.
Man, go ahead on with that, Jim.
I'm trying to tell you, I'm being honest. You ask me, I'm being a fan. I'm telling you, the movie Belly was fire, but after that, he kind of lost me. I think we was way too much into the game.
But even after getting clowned over those fake stats, Jim refused to chill. The drama popped off again when he pulled up on Nightcap with Shannon Sharpe and Chad Johnson. At first, Jim gave Nas some props for being an early influence, but right after that, he threw shade, questioning how long Nas's impact really lasted.
Remember how this goes. You ever heard of a Kofi list?
Yeah.
Yo, go back into your history and find out what happened between us and him. You dig? And I'm not trying to repeat history, but don't play with us when it comes to that, bro. We already went wild on them boys. You heard? We the ones that went wild on them boys. You heard?
Hey.
Wild.
Look, I'm put it to you like this, Jim. Hey, bro, you been at this thing, but lyrically, I'm gonna keep it a stack with you.
Yeah,
y'all
but look how you dress.
Nas.
Look how you dress. You don't even be in the same places I be in. And the things
I can be in the church house. You can't F with Nas lyrics. I don't know who told you that. Now look, I know you on that good stuff, but you're not seeing Nas.
It all went sideways when Shannon asked Jim if he was sober when he said he's better than Nas. Jim snapped back quick, saying not only is he better, but he's also more influential than the legendary Nas. That's a heavy claim. Then Jim started bringing up that old Dipset beef with Nas from the early 2000s. He bragged, saying, "We the ones that went wild on them boys," talking about their 2003 track, "I Really Mean It." We'll break down that history soon. But check this, Shannon wasn't having it. He pushed back hard, saying Nas is lyrically untouchable and told Jim straight up, "You not seeing Nas." Jim didn't care at all, though. He kept talking big, daring Nas to face him in the booth to really settle it. After all that barking, Jim tried to act cool, telling Shannon he wasn't mad. But the tension shot back up when Jim challenged Shannon to meet him in the gym and accused both Shannon and Ocho of using him for clout to boost their views. Man, Jim was on one that night. This is where Jim totally lost it and had a full-on public meltdown.
Really wants to prove it.
You got a bunch of 40 and 50-year-olds in their panties because I said I'm better than Nas.
It don't matter.
Look at you. Look at you.
Nobody from Dipset gonna take you over Nas. Nobody from the Diplomats but you.
I got a question.
Stick up for itself and meet me in a booth for something if we want to do something historical.
Nas say he don't do that no more. Nas say he don't do that.
Because he got $100 million. He's a very wealthy man. You heard he's a very smart businessman. He called a couple business clicks.
Hold on.
I'm rapping at a high level. You better check my stats, bro. I will run circles around Nas rapping right. I will run circles around Nas rapping right now. Right now, I will run Saturn around Nas right now rapping. Everybody knows.
Fans went in on him heavy online, tearing him apart in the comments. Meanwhile, Shannon clapped back, saying Jim needs their podcast way more than they need him. Shots fired. But Jim, he wasn't even close to finished. He jumped on Instagram and doubled down, calling Shannon out again to settle it in the gym.
Let's get this right. I'm not mad. It's about the sportsmanship of the game. People know I'm a very aggressive person, and that seems to get misconstrued when I'm talking about shit. I'm just talking about you heard? Let me talk my shit because I am on the field. If anybody got a problem with that, they can meet me on the field. That is the booth. Anybody from that era. I can sing more Nas records than you right now. So you are capping. You are capping. That's what you're doing.
First of all, bro,
you are
I'm about to be 50.
I'm a bigger Nas fan than you are. You are capping.
First of all, I'm 57. I don't be singing no rap. I don't be singing no rap.
You see what I'm saying, Ocho? He don't even know about rap. He just doing this for the views to get Jim Jones on there to get him hot. I understand.
Jim dropped a video of himself working out, and in the caption, he wrote, "Somebody tell Shannon Sharp, don't start ducking this challenge now. You gonna talk like a podcaster, or you gonna walk what you talk cause my sneaker's tied? You already challenged me in front of the world, might as well finish the job." Champ Ocho Cinco said he don't want to do it in public, let's do it in private. I know his rep as an athlete is on the line. As long as you the witness, we don't duck no challenges. Size don't matter where I'm from. Run it, young David, to all Goliaths. Bruh, Jim really thought this was a power move, but it blew up in his face big time. Fans flooded his post clowning him hard, saying he got wheelchair legs and calling him a straight-up cornball for begging for clout at almost 50.
But you don't
Get
know
him
no
hot.
Nas lyric. You don't know Nas
You better
lyric.
check the
You don't
podcast
know
space.
no
Hey,
Nas
now you better talk.
Sing 16.
Hey,
Singing,
this is the biggest podcast you ever been
Name
on.
one Nas record.
This is the biggest podcast you ever been on.
You
No
know
podcast
you
you
know
been
Nas
on better
record.
than this one.
Hold on. We off topic.
I'm not a podcaster.
No,
This is what I do.
Joe.
You see
Name
you
a
in your
podcast you been on
feelings? You see
bigger
in
than
your
this one.
feelings?
When you get big, you get invited to Club Shay Shay.
This is what I do.
Nas get invited to Club Shay Shay. Jadakiss get invited to Club Shay Shay. You not on that level yet, bro. Slow down.
It's for little young white
Hello?
girls. Chill out.
We
Chill
off
out. Don't
topic.
play with me, bro. Chill
We
out.
off topic.
You're dealing with the wrong one, bro.
Right here, bro.
I
You heard
don't
me?
care nothing about nothing that you got to say, bro. You might as well take me
Hello?
off this shit, bro.
We here. You can't
Leave
out-talk
me
me.
alone, bro.
You might can out-rap me, but you can't out-talk me.
Don't nobody want to go to Club Shay Shay. Nobody want to buy no VIP tickets to that shit. Nobody rushing to go to that shit.
Biggest
You ain't got
podcast
nothing
you ever
lit
been
in
on.
Club Shay Shay.
Hey,
If
If
you got a good
fortunate, you get
podcast,
an invite.
They roasted him for trying too hard to stay relevant. And Nas? He finally kind of responded. But before we get to that, let's break down why calling this a beef is a stretch. This whole saga is really just Jim holding on to a one-sided grudge. It all started way back in 2003 when Cameron and the Diplomats, including Jim, kept throwing shots at Nas on mixtapes and radio freestyles. They was wilding out heavy back then. Then in 2005, Nas shut it all down in a video that just resurfaced. He basically laughed off Jim, saying Jim's not even worth beefing with because nobody checking for him. And that's the real talk. And real talk, Jim never had folks shaking with his bars. Then, about a year later, Nas dropped Hip Hop Is Dead, an album that got under a lot of rappers' skin. But no one took it to heart more than Jim Jones. He got so salty, he threatened to slap Nas in an interview with SOHH.com. Jim straight up said, "Nas, I like Nas's new song. I'll still slap the holy living ish out him, but I like his new song. That song, Where My Gangsta's At, that ish kinda slick." He got a couple bars in there, but aside from that, I like music so I can never, but I'll punch him in his mouth if I had to. Like, what? Jim was big mad but still admitted to vibing with the music. Meanwhile, Nas just stayed cool and ignored all the noise. Jim didn't stop, though. In October 2008, during an interview with Rhapsody.com, Jim wilded out again. He said, "F Nas, I don't give an F about Nas. He's a rapper that just lost his pizzazz." Jim also talked about some random run-in at a Ferrari dealership with Nas and Dame Dash, where he claimed Nas was never on his level. Jim painted the scene saying Dame saw Nas and started chatting him up, while Jim was chilling on a couch just laughing. Jim claimed he was staring Nas down, and Nas didn't know how to act. Then he said Dame started stuttering like he was lost, and Jim just sat back watching it all unfold. Jim even called Dame burnt out, and said he wasn't thinking about that frivolous-ish, and neither was he. But here's the wildest twist. Jim kept screaming that he didn't care about this frivolous drama, but he the one who kept that grudge alive for years. He kept sneak dissing and running his mouth, while Nas just kept moving like none of it even existed. Jim been stuck on this for decades, and Nas, man, he's been on a whole different level minding his own business. After 2008, this so-called beef went quiet. No more public shots, no more back and forth. Crazy enough, Jim even started showing respect for Nas's legacy. He admitted he reached out to collab, but guess what? Nas didn't even hit him back. Left him on red. And check this, Jim actually admitted that Nas has always been one of his favorite rappers and a major influence. Even after Nas ignored his collab request, Jim stayed begging in public for a feature, calling Nas the GOAT. Fast forward to now though, and Jim flipped the script heavy. He went from calling Nas the GOAT and begging for a verse to acting like he don't even know dude and downplaying his whole legacy? That's wild. So of course folks been clowning Jim online, saying whoever hyped him up to believe he could wrap circles around Nas must really hate him. Fans been dragging him, saying he moving like a 40-year-old hooper still trying to get his first ring while Nas chilling in the Hall of Fame already. But just when Jim thought he might be getting some spotlight, Nas hit him with a quiet but savage move that made Jim look even smaller. Some fans think Nas dropped a subtle jab to let everyone know he's way above this silly drama. On June 21st, Nas posted a cold flex on Instagram. He was out having dinner with LeBron, Draymond Green, and a few big-time black CEOs. That's a serious power table, no words needed. The message was loud and clear. Nas is up in the skybox while Jim's still fighting for a seat courtside. That one move had Jim looking like he was yelling into the void. The message Nas sent to Jim couldn't be clearer. You can't sit with us. Straight up. If you peep the comments on Nas's post, fans went off saying this was the coldest non-response ever to all that noise Jim been making. People dropped comments like, "This is how you shut up a one-hit wonder," and sometimes saying nothing hits harder than a whole diss track. And for real, anyone thinking Nas would waste his time clapping back at Jim clearly don't know Nas at all. This man operates on a whole different level. Did folks forget? Nas literally got a bar that goes, "It's rare I listen to dudes who never been in my position. A caterpillar can't relate to what an eagle envisions." That line alone says it all. Nas flying so high he don't even see the ground noise. Jim out here flailing for attention and Nas just gliding above it all like a true king.